Let me ask you a question. When somebody wants help with the thing that you do, your coaching, your services, your expertise, how do you think they're actually looking for it? Not like where you hope they're looking for it, but how they're really searching when they have a question that they need to have answered. Something important has shifted in the last few years, and it is accelerating at an incredible pace. People are not browsing the internet the way that they used to. I'm sure that you know that because you're probably not browsing the internet the way that you used to. We're asking full questions, and increasingly, we're being given one clear answer instead of just a list of options that we're left to go explore. And that shift is going to have real implications for how your business gets found. So, today in the podcast, I want to talk to you about answer engine optimization, what it is, why it matters, and how AI, Google, and tools like ChatGPT are quietly changing the rules of visibility for small business owners who don't want to be glued to social media. And once you see the shift, you're going to start to notice it everywhere, including how voice assistants, search engines, and AI tools are already deciding whose explanations are clear enough to bring to the surface. Are you ready? Let's get into it. Truth time. When's the last time you raised your hands for a swift kick in the pants? Well, I'm the no-nonsense type friend who's going to tell you when you have food in your teeth. So let's get right to it. This is your infusion of sacred and secular, calling you higher into who God created you to be, exploring how intimately faith applies to every part of your life, and how you can live that faith every single day in the marketplace. I felt the tension of separation of church and state. I've been one of the few women at a table of men for decades, and I've stood my ground. Are you ready to do the same? These tools, resources, and interviews are meant to do just that. I'm Jan Touchberry, and it's time to share her faith at work. Does anybody but me notice a difference in talking to Siri lately? I actually probably just activated her on my phone. Well, a few weeks ago, I was driving, and I didn't want to forget a question that I had, so I asked Siri. And instead of giving me a list of places to check, she told me to go ask ChatGPT. What? I was not exactly sure why the shift, so I decided to ask ChatGPT, and here's what it says. Apple knows that Siri is not good at answering explanatory questions. So instead of giving you a weak or inaccurate response, Apple now hands off those questions to an AI system that is designed to help explain things. Systems like ChatGPT. So why am I talking about this on a podcast episode? Good question. Because it tells us something important about how people are finding information right now, right? I mean, this is not breaking news to any of us with the rise of AI, but I want to spell it out for you really plainly. People are no longer browsing the internet the way that they used to. They're asking questions, like full questions, out loud. Thank you, voice option of ChatGPT. If you don't know about that, hit me up. I'll let you know. It's the best thing ever. They're asking complete sentences, and they're expecting a clear, direct answer in return. This shift really does matter for small business owners, especially for people like coaches and consultants and service-based entrepreneurs, because our work depends on us being clear. It depends on trust. It depends on being found at the exact moment that somebody is actively looking for help. So today, I want to talk to you about answer engine optimization, or AEO. This is not a trend. This is not just a buzzword, and it's not something that you need to feel intimidated by, okay? But as a way to understand how discovery is changing and what that means for how businesses show up in an AI-driven world, we're going to talk about it today. It matters if you don't want your business dependent on social media, okay? Well, it matters even if you do use social media as a part of your strategy, but especially if you don't want it dependent on social media. It matters if you care about stewarding your message well. And it matters if you want people you're meant to serve to actually find you when they're searching for answers. But for a long time, search engines work like this. And we all understood this, right? You typed something into Google gave you back a list of links. You clicked around, you skimmed a few pages. Usually it was one of the top ones that you decided to go with because, whatever reason. And then you decided who seemed credible or not credible, depending on how far down the list they were. That model still exists, but it is no longer the dominant experience. I'm sure that you have all put something in Google and you get the AI response, right? That's the very first thing that comes up. And then the secondary thing, if you scroll down, is usually sponsored websites. And then you scroll down even further and you start to get the list like Google used to serve up. So here's the distinction that's going to matter in this. Traditional search engines give you options, right? A list of 10 plus different websites that might be able to answer your question or for you to do your own research. But answer engines give you conclusions that are made by machines based on the information out in the digital space. Are you seeing the difference there, right? That doesn't mean that people never research further. I do. But it does mean that first impressions happen faster and often before somebody ever clicks any kind of link. Answer engine optimization is about understanding your content and how it contributes to those conclusions, okay? So I want to slow this down just a little bit because some of you may be going, oh my gosh, my brain is going to explode. There's a lot of confusion that can creep in here, all right? Let me back up a little bit. You've probably heard of SEO, right? Search engine optimization. Traditional Google searches focus on ranking your pages. It relies heavily on keywords and backlinks and technical signals that work behind the scenes. It shows multiple results and invites comparison, you to compare, right? You're competing to be one of many options. And the better you are at search engine optimization, in theory, the higher up in the rank you get, right? AI answers work differently, or answer engine optimizations, AEO, works a little bit differently. They pull from existing content across the web. Okay, they're just not serving up a list of websites for you. They're collating the information. They look for clarity. They look for structure. They synthesize information into a single response. And often they even eliminate the need for somebody to click anywhere at all, because the answer is handed to you even before you ever see a link to click. Now, that doesn't mean that Google and other search engines are irrelevant. It means that Google itself is changing. Google is becoming more of an answer engine. Siri is becoming a router to AI tools. Discovery is no longer just about being present online. It's about your message being understood. Your online content, all right? Think websites and blogs and articles and podcast descriptions and transcripts. They are not just trying to show up anymore. They're trying to communicate clearly enough that an AI system can say, oh, well, this explains it very well. And that clarity is now the primary currency, all right? This shift is especially important for us as entrepreneurs. If you're a coach or a service provider or your work is relational, people don't just buy what you offer. They buy clarity, they buy confidence, and they buy trust in your guidance. Answer engines actually favor the same things. Are you clear? Do you produce confidence when you're answering things in all of these places? Does the answer engine feel like you are trusted? Answer engines are going to prioritize content that explains, not content that performs, right? Like social media, performance with clicks and things like that. No. AI is going to prioritize answers that explain something because they're looking for answers to the questions that people are asking. They're going to prioritize consistency over you being clever. They're going to prioritize usefulness over you being a hype person. They do not like word salads. And this is actually good news because the shift does not reward shouting louder. It doesn't reward chasing trends. It doesn't reward gimmicks. It rewards thoughtful communication. Have you ever heard the saying kindness or clarity is kindness? I'm not sure who said it, but they were super smart. Confusion does not serve people, clarity does. And when your message is clear, it becomes easier for the right people to find you and easier for them to trust you when they do. So, what is AEO really? In simple terms, AEO means structuring your content so that it clearly answers real questions that people are asking in a way that not only the humans, but the AI systems can understand, trust, and reference. That's it. It's not about manipulating technology. It's not about fitting into some algorithm. It's not about keyword stuffing, and it's not about sounding robotic or technical. AEO focuses on four core elements. All right. The first one, real questions, not vague themes, not clever phrases, actual questions that people ask when they're looking for help. Questions that sound like something someone would type into Google or say out loud to Siri or ChatGPT. The second thing is clear answers, direct explanations, no unnecessary buildup, no hiding the point, no burying the takeaway halfway through an episode transcript. Then the third thing is how you structure it. Has to have logical flow. Does it make sense? Clear progression, content that's easy to follow. Okay. Even when content is super nuanced, it needs to be easy to follow for a human and for AI. And then last but not least is consistency. You've probably heard me talk about this before. Anybody who is a good content marketing coach is talking about consistency all the time. The same core topics over time from a clear perspective so that both humans and AI understand what you're known for. Consistency. And then this is where clarity becomes more important than creativity. All right. I know for some of us who are creatives, that hurts our hearts a little. Oh, I'll speak for myself. It hurts my heart a little, right? Clever titles might feel very expressive, but they often create confusion. And confusion kills visibility. Ask your friends, right? If you have people in your circle that are your ideal client and you're trying something new for a program or a service or an offer, and you came up with this clever title that you just love, run the title by them, no other explanation, and ask them if they know what it means. If they're right, you are onto something and can move on to step two. If they don't get it, go back to the drawing board. Okay. So I want to make this super practical because understanding this is only helpful if you can apply it. All right. So here's a simple, actionable AEO strategy that you can implement without having to change your entire business. It may just change your workflow just a little. All right. First, you're going to choose one core problem your audience struggles with, not 10, one. Something you already talk about on a regular basis. All right. For example, I might choose visibility without social media. Okay. Second, list the actual questions that people ask about the problem, not what sounds good or what you think they might be asking, like what they're really asking. Things like, in my case, it might be, how do I get clients without posting on social every day? Or how can I grow my business without using social media? Or how do people find my business if I'm not on social media? Do you see what I'm doing here, right? They're asking the same question, but these are different ways that they might be phrasing it. So if you're having a hard time coming up with questions that people are actually asking, there's this really great website. It's called Answer the Public. It's free. You type in your topic and boom, it's going to spit out actual searched questions the way that people are asking them. Okay. You don't even have to pay for it. Seriously. You can get up to 3 free searches a day. So when you're doing your research, Answer the Public. It's awesome. All right. So once you do some research, then you're going to create one piece Doesn't have to be overwhelming. One piece of long form content, okay? That content needs to clearly answer one of those questions, not all the questions, one of the questions. It could be a podcast episode or a blog post or both. And then once you've got that piece of long form content, you're going to name it a title that clearly communicates what it means or what it's trying to say. You don't have to be creative. You want to be clear. Use the words that someone would actually search or say out loud. And then you're going to publish it, right? So if you're doing a podcast, you are going to take your transcript and you're going to publish it. You publish a written summary on your website that explains the answer plainly. This part is super important, all right? I know that a lot of people who are doing podcasting right now do not do this step. They skip it. And I can tell you from experience, I've been doing this for about the last 6 to 8 months, and it has drastically increased the amount of organic traffic that I am seeing on my website and in my podcast. And I know that it's because I've been adding this particular step, publishing the written transcript or a blog post that answers the same questions as my podcast. All right. If you have a podcast and you don't currently have a blog to go with it, if you want to talk some more about that, you can hop over to my website and grab a free discovery call and I can explain more. Okay. Deep breath. I know that's been a lot. So, bottom line, you don't need more content. You need clearer content. All right. And you need to add one step, that long form content, into your workflow. All right. Once you do this consistently, something powerful happens. AI systems begin to associate your name and your website and your podcast with certain topics. And over time, you become a trusted source in that category. Y'all, I cannot tell you how excited I was the first time that I'm looking at my Google Search Console and I see that my website has been named in a ChatGPT search that somebody put in. I'm like, yes, it's working, but I've been doing it for 6 to 8 months. Okay. Visibility compounds. I know this. I've seen it in my own business. You are not just chasing attention. You are building understanding of who you are, what you do, and how you help. Okay? AEO does not mean that you're writing for robots. It does not mean that you're chasing every new tool. It does not mean that you're going to lose your voice or somehow you're turning your content into what feels stuffy like a lecture. No, you can still be you, but it does mean being intentional with how you explain what you do. It means making your expertise easier to access. It means removing unnecessary friction between the questions and the answers. At its core, you guys, this is about stewardship. Stewardship of your message, stewardship of your experience, stewardship of the work that God has placed in your hands to do. And I believe that part of that is keeping up with the times. We have to shift as technology and trends shift around us. Answer engine optimization is not about chasing AI. It's about making your work easier to find, easier to understand, easier to trust. People are asking real questions, and the businesses that get found now are the ones that explain things well. So today, okay, maybe not today, this week, take a few minutes and just kind of just assess one piece of your content. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. This is something that you start small and you build into it, okay? But often clarity comes from making small intentional adjustments, saying what you mean more plainly, and answering real questions more directly. That's where sustainable visibility is going to start. I hope that you have enjoyed this topic. I hope that it hasn't been too overwhelming for you. I hope that you've had a couple of aha moments. I hope that you'll take just one step. Thanks for spending time with me today. If this episode was helpful for you, make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast, please, and then share with a friend that you think needs to know all of this information. See you next week. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Her Faith at Work. If the Lord put someone on your heart that you think needs to hear this message today, will you just smash that share button? And if you haven't already followed the show, I would love for you to do that. Super extra points if you hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. That helps the algorithm pick us up and drop us right in the AirPods of people that need to hear what the Lord is saying to them today. I hope you'll come back for the next episode of Her Faith at Work. The podcast comes out every Wednesday. And if you look down in the show notes, I've even got a couple of free downloads for you that I think you will really enjoy. With that, have a great week. See you next time.